In today's lecture, we will begin looking at the human articulatory apparatus. Our objectives are to define the science of phonetics and to focus specifically on the articulatory phonetics, which we will be studying and exploring in this course. We will then examine the human articulatory system and learn the terms for its parts. And we will list the ways in which sounds can be produced by different types of air streams. Let's begin by identifying phonetics as a science that studies speech sounds. There are several ways speech sounds can be studied. The first of them is articulatory phonetics, which is the sub-area we're going to focus on in this class. Articulatory phonetics studies how sounds are produced in our vocal tract. Auditory phonetics explores how humans perceive speech sounds. And acoustic phonetics studies the physical properties of sound, such as frequency, amplitude, duration, and so on. If you wish to learn more about auditory and acoustic phonetics, you will need to take a class dedicated to these subjects. Now let's return to the articulatory phonetics. Let's think about how we speak, specifically what our body does to produce speech sounds. Our vocal tract is a musical instrument of sorts. We use air to play it in a way. Most sounds in world languages are called pulmonic. This means that they are produced when the air is pushed out of your lungs by the diaphragm. The air passes through the trachea and then through the larynx, which houses vocal cords. Then it moves either through your mouth or through your nose. If it moves through your mouth, your tongue and lips move, and the tongue may touch or approach your palate or your teeth to create differently shaped air spaces in your mouth, and this affects the quality of the sound. Let's look at the process in a little more detail. This diagram represents a sagittal view of a human vocal tract. The air originates in the lungs and passes through the trachea. It then enters the larynx. The larynx is also called the voice box. It is formed by laryngeal cartilage. You can feel it on the front of your throat. Men will have the top of the laryngeal cartilage that protrudes forward a little bit. Colloquially, it's called Adam's apple. In women, it protrudes less or not at all, but it is still there. Inside the larynx, we have vocal cords, also called vocal folds sometimes, especially in British English. On the diagram in front of you, vocal cords are represented with an oval. Vocal cords are folds of tissue that may close or come apart and may vibrate, affecting the physical properties of sounds. Vibrating vocal cords make voiced sounds, and non-vibrating ones make voiceless sounds. The space between the vocal cords is called glottis. Some sounds in English, and certainly in other languages, are produced here. We call them glottal sounds. Above the glottis, we have a piece of tissue called epiglottis, which literally means above glottis. This piece of tissue closes the trachea during swallowing so that the food stays out of trachea and we don't choke. The air then gets back to the space above the glottis and behind the back of the tongue. This area is called the pharyngeal cavity. Some languages, but not English, have sounds that are produced in this space. Above that, there is soft tissue called soft palate. The formal technical term for it is velum, spelled with one L. The word vellum, the type of parchment, is spelled with two L's. Velum, not vellum, can move up and down and separate the nasal cavity from the oral cavity when needed. At the very end of the velum, there is a little thingy hanging down. It's called a uvula. The uvula has a variety of biological functions related to eating, breathing, and saliva production, but it can also be a place where sounds are produced in some languages, such as French and German. The hard palate is a bony structure that separates the oral cavity from the nasal cavity. In common parlance, it is referred to as the roof of your mouth. The main articulator in your mouth is your tongue. It is a very flexible muscle that can move up and down and back and forth to create different resonant spaces in your mouth. And if you run your tongue along the roof of your mouth from the hard palate forwards towards your teeth, you will notice that there is a bumpy area right behind your teeth. It is called the alveolar ridge. Alveoli are sockets where your tooth roots rest. In English, we have quite a few sounds that are made when we hold our tongue close to or press it against the alveolar ridge. Then, of course, we have teeth and lips. But air does not have to be expelled through your mouth when you speak. It can also go out through the nasal cavity. English has just about 3 nasal sounds. Some languages have more and some have less. So here is a complete labeled sagittal diagram of the human vocal apparatus. It is similar to what you will find in your textbook. As mentioned earlier, most speech sounds produced by humans are pulmonic. That is, they're produced when the air is pushed out of the lungs and through the vocal apparatus. But some languages also have glottalic egressive sounds. They're also called ejectives. They're produced by the air pushed from above the glottis. Glottalic ingressive sounds are called implosives. They're made when we pump the glottis down and pull the air in. Velaric ingressive sounds are called clicks. They're produced by closing the vocal tract in 2 places and making, a click with lips or tongue. English doesn't have glottalic egressive, glottalic ingressive, or velaric ingressive sounds. In other words, there are no ejectives, implosives, and clicks in English. But we can make click sounds like such or. Next, we will talk about some tools linguists use to study speech sounds.